What's good, guys? It's your boy Kyron John, and today I'm going to give you guys 10 things that I've learned as a photographer in the year 2022. Is that better?
Yep.
There you go. Okay. All right, number one, building a solid portfolio. How do you build a solid portfolio? Well, that means you have to shoot all the time. You have to, whether that's you going outside, if you're into landscape, shooting nothing but landscape. I live in New York, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of beautiful cityscapes and landscapes that you could shoot if that's your thing. If you're into street photography, go outside, find people to photograph. Photograph the graffiti, photograph the trains, photograph these nice tall skyscrapers. You know what I'm saying? That's one way to do that. Boom. If you're into product photography, like I said in an earlier video, for me, product photography came from, taking a class. You know what I'm saying? Buy random things from the store. Go, if you love a ginger, I'm a person who loves ginger beer, right? So every time I see a can of, or a bottle of ginger beer, I take it home, right? So shoot these, take it home, shoot it every day. Shoot everyday products. If you live with your girlfriend, whoever, your boyfriend, whoever, take their makeup items, take their body wash items, shoot those. If you're into food photography, if you know how to cook, shoot, even better for you, because now you could build a food photography portfolio from you just being able to photograph the food that you make. Start a blog. You know what I'm saying? Obviously food photography also covers as things as much as cans. This would fall under food photography too. But yeah, if you're into product photography, if you're into food photography, shoot, you gotta build a portfolio. That's the only way to start getting consistent clients. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to build that solid portfolio by shooting, and every single day, as much, maybe not even every single day, maybe it's not even realistic for you to shoot every day, but maybe once a week. You know what I'm saying? Take that time to at least, be like, okay, today I'm gonna shoot nothing but drinks. Tomorrow I'm gonna shoot nothing but spaghetti and meatballs. The next day I'm gonna shoot macaroni. The next day I'm gonna shoot rice and beans. The next day I'm gonna shoot jewelry. I'm gonna shoot shampoo. I'm gonna shoot lotion. You know what I'm saying? Take the time to build that solid portfolio, because at the end of the day, that's what's gonna attract people to you and want to book you. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's gonna book you if you have no portfolio. I remember one time someone was saying to me yo, I'm not shooting those things until someone pays me money to do that. That's not how it works. No one's gonna pay you money if they can't see what you have in order to be able to book you for that specific thing. You might get lucky, that might be the case. You know what I'm saying? Someone may be like, oh yeah, he shoots food. Maybe he could shoot weddings. Some people have gotten lucky like that, but it doesn't always work like that. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, take the time to shoot every day. That's number one. If you can't shoot every day, shoot once a week, shoot twice a week, shoot 10 times a month. Just take the time, discipline yourself to shoot as much as you possibly can to build that portfolio, because it will come in handy, trust me. All right, next thing would be to learn your camera, right? Learn your camera, that is vital. Now, I'm not a heavy camera technician. I can't tell you the ins and outs of my camera, but I shoot in manual, so at least I know how to get somewhere depending on the shoot. Now, one thing I've noticed, a lot of shoots are different. You know what I'm saying? I shot a lot of weddings this year. You know what I'm saying? The lighting from that is gonna look completely different from you shooting product photography. You know what I'm saying? So it comes in handy to know your camera settings and know what's gonna work in what environment. When you're in a dark environment, you have to know that at least, especially with these newer cameras, boosting your ISO is not gonna be that bad, but boosting your ISO is gonna help you a little bit. You have to know, your settings for your aperture. What's the right aperture settings for me to be shooting a group of people? Do you want to shoot a group of people with a shallow depth of field, 1/8, 1/4, 1/2? Hell no. You're gonna get one person in focus and the whole group is gonna be blurry. You know what I'm saying? So you want to make sure you have a higher aperture, like f4. You know what I'm saying? But the higher your aperture is, that means the darker the scene is gonna be. So you have to know to compensate, to add, boost your ISO up a little bit to be able to compensate. If you're using flash, you're gonna have to know the right light settings to be able to get the whole place brightened and everything not being overexposed. You know what I'm saying? So it pays to know your camera, because the different arenas you're in is once you have a good basic knowledge of how the lighting looks in that place, you're gonna know exactly how to approach that. When you're shooting food photography, like I said, it's gonna be different. Most times you're using off-camera flash, you're using natural light. You know, you're gonna want to know, okay, cool, if I'm shooting with flash, what's the right light, what's the right amount of light compensation to use. If I'm going to be using natural light, most likely you're going to have your camera on a tripod, because depending on where you're in a restaurant, it may not be bright enough for you to be able to, you know, just like do a freehand, because you might catch motion when you're shooting the food. You know, that's more for another video, but these are just tips for you to understand. Like I said, learn your camera, learn your settings. That is important. You know what I'm saying? If you're a person who's going to be shooting multiple genres, food photography, weddings, events, products, you know, portraits, there's a different bunch of settings for each genre of photography. It's never going to be exactly the same. Of course, if you have a specific style, sure. You know what I'm saying? You could obviously shoot all portraits. You know, if you have a studio and you're doing basic headshots, that's gonna almost always look the same. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you might have to compensate a little bit, because certain skin tones you might have to lower or increase the light. But like I said, that's for another video. But number 2, like I said, learn your camera. You will thank yourself. Your clients will thank you. All right. Tip number 3 is don't be afraid to try things out. Experiment, right? Last year I did a project in the beginning of the year. It was called Rebellious Roots. It was basically focusing on, you know, black heritage and girls and embracing their natural hair, right? Low key, I was scared, you know, like, damn, people might think this is corny, but people actually loved it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get to finish the entire project, but I got like the first stage done. And that was the first time I really sat down, took the time to put a mood board together, and really focus on just experimenting, figuring things out, experimenting with lighting. You know what I'm saying? Like, part of photography and you developing a style is for you to experiment. You don't develop a style by just sticking to what you're watching everybody else do, because you're basically mimicking somebody else's style. Now, there's nothing wrong with, you know, taking inspiration from other people and stuff like that, but incorporate what you see in different places and use that to create your own specific style. Experiment. If you're into portraits, you know, learn types of lighting styles that you like. Look at portraits of, you know, different photographers and see what they do, and try to get an understanding of how they're using light, how many lights they're using, you know what I'm saying, to be able to create these specific portraits. If you're into food, you know what I'm saying, there's so many different type of ways to shoot food. There's the typical way, like I said, with doing work with companies like DoorDash, Uber Eats, they look for very specific, normal, like, hey, I just want the people to be able to see what type of food they're getting, and that's it, straightforward, no real experimentation. But there's so many different types of things. You know what I'm saying? There's a photographer, his company's called Tin House Studios. A lot of his work is super colorful. You know what I'm saying? Then you got another one like this other lady who owns this company is called The Bite Shot. Her stuff is very specific, you know, like very light and airy. Some people's styles are dark and moody. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different styles. So in order for you to figure out what your style is, you have to experiment. Don't be afraid to try things out. Nobody's judging you. I mean, yeah, people can judge you, be like, oh, that looks weird. But at the end of the day, those styles and that specific style that you developed is what's going to get you booked. So, like I said, do not be afraid to experiment. Try stuff out. Try out lighting. You know what I'm saying? Try out different styles. Shoot with backgrounds. Shoot with different textures. Just try things out. You know what I'm saying? You'll be able to start to get an understanding of what you like. And, you know, the more you do that, the better you get. So you have to experiment, you know. Number 4 is being a people person. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I may seem like an extrovert, but I'm an introvert. Like there comes time where I don't really want to be around people. There's been times where I've been doing shoots and I've been on the quiet side. You know what I'm saying? But being a people person is going to create a wave of getting you continuous clients, you know, because people like to work with people who are personable. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, there's photographers who are there. They know for a fact that they're getting booked because their work is so great that they don't even have to be a people person. They could be an asshole if they want. You know what I'm saying? They could be mean on set, everything. You know what I'm saying? But A lot of those times people complain about those type of people. Most people don't complain about people who are personable. You know what I'm saying? You might feel like of course there's people who's like, oh, this person is too nice. Maybe you're faking it. You're trying to overcompensate. But most times, if you're nice, you know what I'm saying? Obviously being stern, but being nice is gonna get you a very far way. People love to deal with people who are personable because it allows them to feel comfortable. If I'm shooting somebody's wedding, it doesn't matter how great of a photographer I am. If I'm making the bride and groom miserable on their wedding day, you're gonna hear about it. And people, the photos may be great. Like, yeah, the photos were great, but this person they were an asshole. They're gonna speak more on that than the fact that the photos were great. You know what I'm saying? You might have a better chance of your photos being mid, but if you were nice and you were personable, you might have a better chance of getting booked again. It's happened with me. You know what I'm saying? But because of the fact that I was able to communicate with the client and be like, yo, listen, at the end of the day, if you didn't like it, you know, I'm not gonna be an asshole about it. Like, maybe I could have definitely approached it a different way. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, be personable, be a people person, be nice to people, you know, just get to know them. When you're shooting weddings, when you're shooting portraits, when you're shooting events, you're spending some time with these people, and you don't want the shoot to be awkward. There's nothing worse than being an awkward photographer and having an awkward shoot where you're just kind of like, I don't really know what to say, I don't know what to do. At the end of the day, people get weird about being in front of cameras, and for them, they may feel, you know, they may come across a little awkward, but it's your job to make them feel comfortable, because you're gonna get ratings. Every time you see, you know, get good reviews, one of the most common things that you see is that people are like, oh yeah, this person made me feel comfortable, they were nice, they made me laugh, they made me smile, I would definitely book them again. Don't be the photographer that feels like because you know exactly what you're doing, you have the right to be mean to people. Trust me, it's not gonna go over well, even if you're a great photographer. Now, piggybacking off the last one, the next one is to communicate effectively with your clients. Now, what does that mean, right? So, I did a lot of food photography and a lot of product photography, right? And in those realms, you're doing a lot of mood boards, right? Now, as a photographer, a lot of the time, people may book you for your style, right? But in many shoots, you're kind of going based off of the client's vision, right? So it's important to communicate. It's important to know exactly what your client wants and exactly how to execute that vision without getting upset at the fact that this client wants this and you want that. When you're working with a restaurant who has a specific style, you know what I'm saying? For example, I did work with this company called Goldbelly. You might have heard of it. They send recipes and meals to people's homes that they could order, and they could, you know, use their ingredients to cook things, you know, fresh and stuff like that. But for example, with them, they have a very specific style. They like hard shadows on their in their shoots. You know, when we're doing their dishes, when we're shooting the meals, they like hard shadows. That's a style that's kind of like popular, especially these past few years, that I've noticed with like food photographers and like product photographers. But at the end of the day, if that's not your style and that's what the client wants, it's one of two things. You communicate that A, this is not my style, I'm not really comfortable doing this, so you don't take the shoot. Or two, you're able to compromise a little bit. Take some time to learn and look at other people who do that type of style and kind of take time to understand that. But part of being able to know that you may be able to complete that job properly is to communicate with your client. Get a complete understanding of exactly what they want and what their vision is for the shoot. You know what I'm saying? Communication is key. If you're gonna be a little late, let the client know. If you're gonna come a little early, let them know. If you have to reschedule, let them know. The last thing you want to do is wait till the last minute, to like an hour before, and tell a client like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to make it. Because especially when you're dealing with these clients like food photography, a lot of the time they're making the dishes ahead of time. You know, you tell them like, okay, cool, I'm gonna be there at 3. A lot of the time they're gonna start prepping like 1:30, 2 o'clock. So by the time you get there, you guys could get started already on starting to shoot those things. And if you're not communicating properly, you wasted the client's time. You know what I'm saying? If they had to shoot 15 dishes and they made all 15 dishes, and then boom, like an hour before you're like, hey, I can't come, what do you expect? They're going to be upset, you know what I'm saying, because the communication was not there, and you may not get booked again. You may not be able to come back and work with that client. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes clients' communication is trash. Sometimes they don't communicate with you properly, but usually what I do personally to save myself, because listen, there's been times where I've went to a shoot and the client was like, oh man, we were trying to call you, can we reschedule? Wasted all that time driving to that restaurant just for that shoot to not be happening that day. So for you, there's one of two ways. You communicate going up into the shoot with the client, be like, okay, cool, we're shooting on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Cool. Okay, I have that in my calendar. Checking with them 2 days before. Okay, cool. Checking with them 2 days before, see if you're still good, just reconfirm. Cool. Day of, best practice is to hit them up the morning of. Like, if most people may be like, oh, why is this person calling me at 8 o'clock? But I try as soon as I wake up to be like, hey, I'm going to call this client, or I'm going to send them a text and be like, hey, just confirming, are we still on for today? Because like I said, the last thing you want is to waste your time and just not communicate the day of and just drive to the spot, and next thing you know, you're not even doing a shoot that day. Waste of gas, waste of time, waste of your time, waste of their time, you know what I'm saying? And it's definitely frustrating for both parties. So communication is key. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the style that you guys are trying to shoot, have a clear understanding of that from a week before, or even if it's a last minute booking, at least before the shoot, get a clear understanding of exactly what it is, and understand that, okay, you know what, this is what we're doing. Make a mood board if you have to. I use a company called Milanote, and they're perfect for, writing creative briefs and mood boards and photo, mood boards, for at least being able to take inspiration for an idea of what the client wants. So communication is key. Make sure you can't leave that out. That honestly should have been number one on my list, to be honest. But when it comes to dealing with clients, that's number one. Number six, making a photography price and sticking to it. Now, if it's one thing I learned this year personally, I'm completely overdoing shoots for free. Listen, there's people who tell you take shoots for free. There's only a select few people that can make me do shoots for free. You know what I'm saying? I personally feel like I've done a lot. I've taken time to build my portfolio, and believe it or not, I don't want to do shoots for free. You know what I'm saying? Like, I personally, like I said, it would take something specific for me to do something for free. Like a good bartering service. And even a lot of time, to be honest, I don't even want to barter services, because at the end of the day, a lot of the time, if you're paying for your services, you should definitely pay for mine. Yeah, I've spent a lot of money on equipment right now, shooting on the R7, spent $2,000. The mic, that's $100. The lens, $2,000. On my other camera body, that's another $1,700. The lens, that's another, $1,500. I don't want to do work for free. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, make a photography price and stick to it. Now, if you're beginning, you might shoot for a low rate, but it's better than shooting for free. You know what I'm saying? Even if you have no experience, at least charge something, right? Now, for me, in 2020, I was kind of all over the place with my pricing, and that's because I was learning a lot about just, okay, what I felt comfortable. Even now, I'm still growing. This is going into year 4 now, and of course, like I'm still getting better at pricing certain things out, because this last year was like my first full year doing food photography. I kind of had like a base price of $300. Like, I wasn't shooting for anything below that, right? So now, if you're a portrait photographer and you don't have anything else except for your camera, and all you do is shoot outside, by all means, if you feel comfortable charging $75, at least just charge that. Cool. Let them know that, this comes with 10 photos. If they're edited, let them know, but have a price and stick to that. As you start to get more experience, you're going to start to add on and elevate your prices a little bit, because obviously the more experience you have, the more that you should charge that matches what you are worth, right? So, for example, for portraits, minimum I charge is $225. You know what I'm saying? If there's like a special discount that I feel like I'm going to send off to like a client, because some people come and you have repeat clients, so maybe I'll be like, hey, instead of charging you $225 because we've done 2-3 shoots before, I'll charge you $175. But that's for people that I've done work with. Moment anybody comes to me to be like, hey, I want to do a portrait shoot, $225. You know what I'm saying? That's minimum. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't include the studio rental time, You know what I'm saying? That's additional add-ons, but that's my minimum just for portraits. For food, minimum $325. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's my minimum for 15 to 20 dishes, and that's what I'm going with. You know what I'm saying? It makes it easier because the last thing you want to do is to be jumping all over the place with prices. Okay, I'm going to charge this person $125. I'm going to charge this person $200. I'm going to charge this person $175. I'm going to charge the person $300. You're gonna confuse yourself. You know what I'm saying? Now, maybe it makes sense in the beginning to kind of try those different prices out to be able to figure out what pricing lands. You know what I'm saying? I feel like for people, like, people pay for value. When people know that your work is great, they're going to be willing to pay. You know what I'm saying? If your work was mid, or, you know, and to be honest, there's people whose work is mid and they charge high prices, but that's because they're confident in the skill level that they have at that moment. So guess what? That's good on them. But at the end of the day, once you kind of land in a good ballpark of a price, if you feel like, yo, you know what, I feel comfortable charging $150 for 2 hours, stick to that for as long as you possibly can. You know what I'm saying? Make a pricing sheet so that it's the same thing. You give that to clients. Back in 2020, me and Stephanie, we sat down, we came up with prices that we felt were appropriate for the product photography side of the business, for the portrait photography side of the business, for the wedding side of the business. We literally came up with different pricing packages. So what that does is it makes it way easier for you to be able to send out to all your clients. Somebody asks you, hey, what's your prices? Here, I'm going to send you my photography pricing sheet. Cool. You don't have to make up a price on the spot. Now, certain things might be different. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to charge a bigger client the same amount that you're going to charge a smaller client. Like, you know, if someone is just starting a business and they just need 2 product shot, yeah, okay, it might be reasonable to charge them $175, but if you're shooting with a client that needs 40, 50 item shot, it doesn't make sense to charge them $175. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that's why having the photography pricing sheets makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? Get an idea of, okay, what you're comfortable shooting. If you're comfortable shooting 5 product items for $200, should you really be comfortable shooting that same exact thing for if shooting 20 items for $200, or should you boost that by a different amount? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that should definitely be another list in itself. But making a pricing list and having that and sticking to it, it makes it easier for you. It makes it less daunting for you because you have an exact idea of, like, yo, this is how much I'm making for these amount of hours. This is how much I'm making for these amount of products. This is how much I'm making for this amount of food, for this long I'm shooting a wedding. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to charge or undercharge or start moving prices all over the place and confusing yourself. So make that pricing list and stick to it. You'll thank yourself. Piggybacking off the last one in terms of pricing, number 7 is don't be afraid to stand your ground. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, sometime in the past few weeks, months, right, I had somebody inquire about, you know, services. I'm not going to say any names, but like I said, for me, minimum for nowadays with my nowadays with my engagement shoots, the minimum I'm going for is 300, 370, 325 at least, right? And this client was trying to, you know, just negotiate crazy, and I'm like, yo, we're not negotiating my price. You know what I'm saying? If you can't afford it, there's another photographer who will take it. I told them 325. They were trying to be like, oh, our budget is only 175. Well, I don't know what to tell you because I'm not lowering my services for that. You know what I'm saying? The engagement shoots is 325. That's it. I'm not negotiating that. I mean, if you want to, you can. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously you may be in a desperate pinch where you're like, yo, I'm just gonna take whatever. I'm willing to drop my price down to 175 for this client and 325 for this client, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, no. Yeah, no, we're not negotiating. That's why I said in the last number, having a pricing set and stick to that, because a lot of the time what happens is when you're not confident in your pricing, you're going to start jumping all over the place. Like I said, I already said that. But when a client tries to negotiate, you may be like, you know what? I haven't shot with a client in the past 3-4 months. I'm desperate. I'm just gonna take this. The thing is, if that client now, right, goes to bring somebody else to you, here's the issue with you negotiating that price and dropping that price. Boom. That person, and this I'm saying this from experience because it's happened with me, right? Let's say, like I said, your price is $325, right? That's what you have written down. That's in your pricing sheet. That's in your pricing package. Cool. This client comes to you like, hey, it's only in our budget for $175. There's one or two ways I could go about that. You could lessen the amount of photos. You could lessen the amount of hours. I wouldn't suggest that at all. Like I said, I would stick to my guns. But if that's you, then cool. Hey, listen, be like, you know what? Instead of you getting 20 photos, you get 10 photos for that amount, if that's what you want to do. But personally, I would stick to my guns. I wouldn't even take the shoot. Maybe you know somebody who's a little less experienced who may be willing to take that, right? Because like I said, here's what's gonna happen. That client is gonna negotiate with you, right? Your price is $325, their budget is $175. Now what they're gonna do is, cool, you're gonna shoot that wedding, they're gonna shoot that engagement for $175, then they're gonna refer somebody else to you, and here's where the trouble comes in. Cool, that next person that you refer to them is gonna ask you, hey, what's your pricing? I seen your engagement photos from Steve and Anna, and I love them so much, and they referred me to you. Okay, my pricing is $325. Oh, whoa, that's not in the budget. They told me that you shot this for $175. Now that's two clients already. Now you're either gonna take that client, you know, because of the fact that, oh, that's off the back of that last client where you kind of dumbed down your price for them, and then it keeps happening. You know what I'm saying? Where you may even be like, oh man, maybe $325 is not too much. Then you're gonna start second guessing yourself. No, stick to your pricing, because the last thing you want is for that client to come back and be like, oh yeah, no, that wasn't in the budget. They told me that you shot it for $175. We love your work. But it's like an undermine at the same time, because like, oh, they love your work, but they also don't feel like they want to pay you what you're worth. And that is trouble for you because you didn't stick to your guns. You know what I'm saying? So the most important thing is literally not being afraid to stand your ground. Stick to that pricing. If you're going to shoot for $375, for $325, $375, whatever, make it that. If you don't feel like you want to take clients that are below that, then that's on you. Pass it off to somebody else, or help them find somebody else that's within their budget, or they could go find somebody else that's in their budget. They may sound a little mean, but at the end of the day, you have to know exactly like, hey, I've been doing this for a while. This is my price. This is what I feel that I'm worth. I'm going to stick to this. I'm not going to dumb down myself, because the only person who's going to be frustrated is you, because now you know that, okay, for $325 I do this, I shot it for $175. You're gonna be flustered because you're editing the same amount of photos that you would have for $325 for $175, and you're gonna be annoyed because like, oh man, like I undermined myself. Like I said, this is from experience. This is from people who I know who've gone through this, and you don't want to do that. So stick to your guns, stick to those prices. Like I said, make that pricing list and stick to that, because you'll thank yourself. Number 8. Number 8. I don't know, this might be one of the most important ones, right? If you're a wedding photographer, if you're a food photographer, to be honest, if you're a professional photographer, this may not really apply to you if you're an amateur, if you're a hobbyist, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to say this, and I learned this year, like rookie mistake of the year: always have 2 cameras. Always have 2 cameras, right? I'm going to talk about this more in depth in another video, but I was working with this wedding photography agency, and the moment I started getting too cocky in the realm that I was going crazy shooting those weddings and I was having no problems, is when everything went downhill. Because guess what? I only had 1 camera on me. That 1 camera malfunctioned in the midst of the wedding, not during the ceremony, but like later in the reception. But it malfunctioned on me. That's the worst thing that could possibly happen. Honestly, you being late is better than your camera breaking during a shoot. You know what I'm saying? If you were paid big bucks for a shoot, the last thing you want is to have a camera that does not work, because you are going to look like a big amateur hour all the way through. There's almost nothing you could say to save yourself when you have 1 camera and it malfunctions, right? So now, if you have it within your budget to be able to have 2 cameras and you're a professional like a professional, like you do this for a living, or you're trying to become a professional photographer, somebody paid you, you gotta have 2 cameras. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because you never know when your camera may malfunction. You know what I'm saying? If you're shooting weddings and you're a second photographer and you have a friend who has another camera who's not shooting that day, try to borrow it if you can. Even if you buy I have an R7, I have a EOS 90D, and I have a Rebel T7 that I sold, and somehow the person sent it back. You know, but that's for another video. But even that $400 camera, I would bring it with me just in case. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the last thing you want is for your camera to malfunction. You have no idea when it's gonna happen, and the last thing you want is for a client to have paid you big bucks and for that camera to not work. Maybe they might be understanding, you know what I'm saying, and you'd be willing to reschedule another day, but nobody's trying to pay money, and in the midst of that, you know, whether it's a wedding, whatever, photo shoot, food shoot, portrait shoot, the wedding, your camera breaking. Nobody wants that. You're gonna look like an amateur. You're gonna look inexperienced. You're gonna look like a rookie. It's gonna be embarrassing. Like I was like, when I say I was embarrassed, like when I say like I was like just wanted to crawl inside myself and literally like break down and have a mental breakdown. That's exactly how I felt, because you know, it's like, yo, what can you say? I can't lie to the client and be like, oh yeah, well the camera's still working. It's not. Nah, like it's over. You know what I'm saying? And a wedding, that's that's probably the #1 area that you don't want to have one camera, because you can't redo that. If you missed that first kiss, you missed that first kiss. If you missed the exchanging of rings, you missed that. You missed the first dance, you missed that. You can't I mean, maybe, like I said, if the client is flexible, yeah, maybe, but you don't want to tell me you missed the first kiss, hey, let's do it again. You lost the sentiment of the moment. You know what I'm saying? So have 2 cameras. Like I said, even if you can't afford to get 2, it took me a while to be able to finally save up and get this other camera. You know what I'm saying? I happened to get lucky to, you know, have some extra money in that moment, and I was able to grab this camera. But you don't want to have to experience that. Like, learn from my mistake. You know what I'm saying? I was going crazy. I shot almost 70 weddings between October of August of 2021 and, you know, 2022. I literally shot hella weddings, and I was doing great. You know what I'm saying? I had my Rebel T7 with me in the car just in case, but after a while I stopped bringing it. I just got confident. I'm like, oh yeah, nah, I've been killing it. I'm getting good reviews. These couples is loving me. I'm getting hella bookings, blah blah. I don't need my other camera. This other camera is mid anyways. It's less quality than this. I don't need it. Nothing's gonna happen. Boy, was I wrong. So like I said, take it from me. Get 2 cameras. If you have to borrow one, borrow one. If you're shooting only 3 weddings a year, you know what I'm saying, like that, try and rent a camera. And if you're in New York, there's plenty of places you could rent cameras from, like Adorama, the Camera Doctor, you know, a good amount of places. I think it's Share Grid. They have cameras and equipment up for rent, but don't leave your house and do a client shoot with just 1 camera if you're trying to be a professional photographer. Like I said, if you're an amateur, if you're a hobbyist and you're just getting into this and you can't afford it, hey, you know, you may be good, especially if you let the client know that, like, yo, I'm just a beginner. But don't try and come off like a professional. You've been doing this for a long time and only have 1 camera, because like I said, if you're anything like me, you will be embarrassed, and I hate being embarrassed. So save yourself the trouble and get 2 cameras. Now, on top of all those last tips that I gave you, #9 is to take a break. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm one of those people who almost would consider a workaholic. You know what I'm saying? My wife always has to tell me, like, yo, take a break, because the #1 thing is burnout, right? And when you're in a new field, no matter what field you're in, one of the biggest like hurdles to get over for most people is beating burnout. It's gonna happen to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, you know, it's like, yo, this year I'm really trying to build a business. So, you know, when you're building a business, most of the time you're trying to hit the ground running. You're trying to cover all avenues. You're trying to build clientele. You're trying to make sure you keep money flowing. You know what I'm saying? And you know, after a while, it starts to wear on you. You know what I'm saying? Like it starts to wear on you, and obviously you don't want that. You know, I've been a musician, a producer for like the last 12, 13 years. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of what made me kind of be like, hey, I want to transition into something new, you know, and try something out, was the burnout that came from that. And it taught me one thing in terms of being able to take a break. And obviously, when you start having money start to flow in, you're trying to maintain that. You know what I'm saying? The more money you make, the more you're like, oh, I gotta keep this going. I made 5,000 last month. I gotta make 5,000 again this month. Oh, I double up on this. I gotta make another 1,000 more. You know what I'm saying? Okay, cool. Next month, okay, I made 6. Okay, next month I gotta make 7. And nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, I have a family. I'm a husband and I'm a dad. And you want to be able to spend time with your wife. You want to be able to spend time with your daughter. I know a lot of the time, for some reason, we have this mindset that you have to grind, and not take any breaks. Team no sleep. Yo, if you not working, you slacking. But there's time and there's room. There's time for everything. There's room to take a break. You know what I'm saying? Not to sound over religious, but even God took a break when he was creating the earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are we, man? So it's just like, you got to take a break. You got to relax. Put the camera down sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And just soak everything in. Like I said, for me, I'm a dad. I'm a husband. It's important for me to spend time with my daughter and, watch her grow and watch her beat these milestones. It's important for me to take time to spend time with my wife and, like us go out and do things with each other. Because at the end of the day, this is one small thing in terms of the journey of your life. And you don't want to look back and be like, damn, I missed so many moments because I was over here, just focus on building a business and I missed out. Like, even a lot of the time, to be honest, I struggle with feeling like a bad friend because at the end of the day, like I said, you're building a business, so you have a specific focus to be able to get somewhere, to be able to maintain that lifestyle, for you to be able to relax and do things that other people can't do. Building a business is hard, but you have to take a break. You know what I'm saying? Take it from me. You gotta relax. I beat myself up sometimes where I feel like, if I don't, after a long day of being outside, if I don't come home and and start editing or shooting videos or doing more work or doing research, then I'm not working hard enough. But it's like, bro, you was outside from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. Like, sit down on the couch, watch some TV, play some video games. Spend time with your wife, spend time with your child. You know what I'm saying? Go spend time with your friends. Go out and eat. All those things are important. It's as important as you building your business. Like, your business is not going anywhere. If you actually have a mindset and you're setting milestones to be able to elevate and grow your business, then take some time to spend some time doing other things. Do what you love. Like, next month we going on vacation. So yeah, right now I'm trying to go crazy, trying to, do as many gigs and bring, make sure all the bills are paid. So when we going on vacation, I'm not thinking about all those things. You know what I'm saying? But listen, play some video games. I know people be like, oh, video games is for kids, but if you busting your ass, take some time to pick up that controller and play some video games, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But burnout is real, so take that break. And last step, this kind of connects to the first step that I brought up, but never stop learning. The better, with being creative, I don't think you're never gonna reach a peak of the height of your creativity. There's always something to learn. Technology is always advancing, so that means there's always going to be something that can be added to your repertoire of how you create. You know what I'm saying? If you're a photographer, there's other mediums that go along with how to be a better photographer, understanding lighting, understanding composition, understanding using AI, understanding using all types of artifacts and materials to create a cohesive portrait, a cohesive body of work. Learning is important because it allows you to try to just keep going and trying new things and staying ahead. That's going to put you ahead of someone who feels like, I learned all I needed to learn and that's it. I'm not going to do anything more. It's important to take time to learn. It's important to study. Buy books. I have a lot of books. I haven't had time to read everything, but every chance I get, I try to at least read some excerpts from some of those things because there's something that you can take from those books to be able to apply to what you're doing. So yeah, at the end of the day, don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to try new things. And at the end of the day, this journey is just one step at a time. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna keep winning. Just take heed to some of those, some of these last 9 steps. I don't have the answer for everything. Even those last 9 steps, I have to apply to myself every day. You know what I'm saying? But ain't nothing wrong with taking a break. Ain't nothing wrong with, you know, taking the time to learn new things, because it just makes you a better creative. It makes you a better artist. So with that being said, it's your boy Kyron John. If you like this video and all the other videos that I've made, like and subscribe. If you like it now, you'll love it later. Peace.